the United States really at the bottom of education scores around the world? And are we getting worse? I'm going to talk about this today when we look at international scores globally of how students are doing. If you're interested in education and in education from a global perspective, please like and subscribe. So I'm Dr. Emily Sherwood, and I have a very global outlook on education. I've lived overseas in China. I have, my husband is an immigrant. I've worked with language learners for almost 20 years. So I'm very interested in global education, what you might call comparative education, how education's done around the world and how that works, or does it work? The good things about the United States education system, the bad things. So today I'm going to talk about our standing, meaning the United States standing. I am licensed in the United States now, and I'm an American citizen in the world, as far as education. So our new president has a lot of opinions about different things, and one of his opinions is that we just need to get rid of the Department of Education because it hasn't worked, because the United States is the worst in the world. That's what he says. We're at the bottom, and we're just getting worse. So is that really true? So we do have some evidence that gives us an idea of what's going on in the United States compared to other countries, and that's called the PISA test, and it's a program for international student assessment, and we call it PISA. Or PISA. You hear both. You hear PISA and you hear PISA. So this test is given every 3 years usually. Because of COVID, it was meant to be given in 2021, but they delayed it by a year because of the COVID epidemic. So the last information we have, the last test that was given was 2022. There will be another test this year, I think. There will be another test. And it was very interesting what this showed. There was a global dip, which is not unexpected because of COVID. However, the United States was one of only a handful of countries, 24 countries. There were 24 countries where scores stayed about the same. And the United States was one of those. Other countries greatly went down. And only 4 countries actually saw growth, significant growth in anything. And that was Colombia, Macau, Peru, and Qatar. So the United States in 2018, it was number 13 in reading in the world, based on this test, number 37 in math, and number 18 in science. And because the United States basically stayed the same while other countries went down, that our rankings are way up. We're now number 34 in math, and we're number 9 in reading. Now, that's not awesome. I think everyone would agree that we could do better, but we're not at the bottom of the barrel. And we actually stayed still when other countries were greatly declining. So this suggests that COVID was a big problem in the United States as far as education as it was worldwide. And what is interesting in this is that that countries that are considered really good, particularly in Europe, really saw a significant drop much during this time of COVID, much more than the United States, which, like I said, kind of stayed still. So overall, globally, the world lost 1/2 of a year in reading and 3/4 of a year in math, and no significant difference in science. And our scores now, in 2022, they weren't significantly different from other countries that might be considered to have better education systems, at least by culture, by what people think. We were not significantly different from Iceland, Norway, Portugal, Malta, Germany, France, Spain, Israel, in math. So all these countries that are considered pretty good at education, particularly Scandinavian countries, we were about the same. And the United States is actually ahead of in reading, ahead of some of the countries that are considered really good at education, particularly Finland, Hong Kong, Macau, Australia, and the UK. So globally, we're not at the bottom of the barrel, and we actually held up better than a lot of countries during the COVID crisis. And especially in Western Europe, many of these countries declined in their scores, particularly in math, but also in reading. Estonia is actually ranked higher than Finland now, and that's really interesting considering Finland is considered the country for education. Another thing that's very interesting is that the countries that did do stayed the same and actually went up in the rankings because they did not fall. They did not struggle like other countries that are considered traditionally good at education. Some of those countries are countries that you would not think of as being really good in education. So, for example, in reading, Panama jumped quite a bit. It's still, relatively low, but it jumped quite a bit. Chile jumped. Brunei jumped. Croatia, the Czech Republic, a lot of Eastern European countries. Ireland, Uruguay. So some of these countries that you don't traditionally think of as being good actually, in rank, did better than other countries. So this is a suggestion that COVID had more of an effect, particularly in Western Europe and some of these more countries that might be considered more developed. So this suggests that there's kind of a realignment in worldwide education, and countries that traditionally were thought of as good, particularly in Western Europe, are struggling and declining, whereas other countries that consider developing countries are getting better in education. And the United States, like I said, it stays the same. So we are not the bottom of the barrel, and we're not declining a lot. Now, of course, the question is what happened after 2022, because it's been almost 3 years and things change pretty rapidly sometimes in education. So I'm going to talk about the next video. I'm going to talk about NAEP scores, which are the national scores for the United States, the National Assessment of Educational Progress. So I hope you join me then. Have a great day and keep learning.